Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm reviewing a book which is a first-class work coming to us from Jordan Publishing Limited together with a CD. It's available as an e-book. It's called Jordan's Company Secretarial Precedents, now in an 8th edition. It's this book here which we'll have a look at. It's a hardback. It's a heavy book as well. It's been written by 4 people: Cecile Gillard, Debbie Farman, Angela Cotton and Helen Goose. Now, we've given a title for our book review for this excellent work, the following: this fantastic text, fully updated, to make our lives so much easier. So thank you, Jordan Publishing and your editorial team, for the superb CD and materials, and we mean it, because the amount of work that's gone into this is fabulous. There is an Irish book to go with it, which we'll be reviewing separately. Let's have a look at this book first of all. It's a really heavy book. There it is. There's the front. You can see the spine, and you can see the back. There's a lot of detail, some of which I'll be referring to in the review. There is, of course, the little mark for the availability of the e-book. Now you've got the actual CD at the back, which again makes life an awfully lot easier for everybody concerned. There's some useful contacts. There's a short index at the back, and then useful contacts prior to that. You can see that there. The index is by page numbering. There are 6 appendices in total. If we go to the front of the book, you can see here, there's the front page. So I say it's a heavy book, but it's a very important book. Now, the introduction on how to use the book is something you should read. This is really more for support staff, but I think all lawyers should be aware of what's available here. You've got the details concerning the e-book and everything else there. You've got a lot of the information, the impact of the New Companies Act, or say new, 2006, that's 10 years ago. Model articles are covered, and precedents and additional materials, and Cecile has done most of the work on the introduction and how to use the book. Then you have the content section in some detail there, and then you can see how it runs through. Not going to do too much of that. Then there's a lot of, this is just quickly zipping through the various content sections. Then you get on to the actual, you can see the appendices there, which are listed. There are in fact a total of 8 appendices. And then you get to chapter 1. You've got a content section, which is a little index really of what's actually in the book itself. Then the introduction of types of private company, very, very straightforward factual information, and it's easy to read. Now just in the middle you've got precedents there. You can see a standard sort of example of precedents there. Now I'm assuming that people will know a little bit about what this book is all about. However, if you don't, it's a book which is certainly something you should be aware of. I'm just going to make it stand like that because it's a very heavy book. But the important thing about this book is that it actually will save a great deal of time for you and your staff. And that's the purpose behind what Jordan's are creating here. Now, what do we say about the book? Not a great deal, because a lot of it can actually be taken for granted, in the sense that this is a book which will give you an awful lot of very direct, high quality information, very much at your fingertips. The only way to understand the book is to read the introduction, as I've said, and the statement on how to actually use the book. That also goes for the CD at the back. And the editors who I mentioned describe this particular precedents book as an essential reference guide for all professionals carrying out administrative work, and that's exactly what they do. What the book contains are hundreds of precedents and forms which deal with every aspect of company administration, from registration to striking off, and we think it will be a fundamental component of any company's law library as a mandatory purchase, and certainly that's something that I think any practice will certainly wish to consider seriously. I think of particular assistance for the hard-pressed legal administrator is that for each form and precedent covered, there is an accompanying commentary on the concise details of when and how it should be used for both private and unlisted public companies. That, I think, is very important, because you may have questions and you should find the answers relatively easily. Additional changes which have been introduced by the Small Business Enterprise and Employment Act 2015 include a range of detailed provisions dealing with company law changes and alterations to the public accountability of companies, and are well covered here. Other recent legislative changes which you might like to know about that have impacted on company law, or corporate governance, whatever you want to call it, and the actual company secretarial practice that goes with it, are dealt with in the 8th edition. It's been updated by the editors to reflect practical and legal changes in company administration, including revised model articles which are covered right at the beginning in how to use the book, and they were amended by the Mental Health Act 2013. Also included are revised rules and procedure on appointment of a new director, including enhanced requirements for the company to obtain evidence of the individual's consent when notifying an appointment to Companies House. And the changes to the rules on company loans to directors are included as well, together with new company transparency requirements. And that again I think is of importance, notwithstanding any changes that we're going to see with Britain's decision to leave the European Union, which will have an effect in a much longer term, I suspect, on what we're doing, because obviously there are quite a lot of direct links with what we've been doing within the European Union. There are a number of additional points which are covered on the back, and I'll just run through those. A new duty for companies to investigate whether they have persons with significant influence, that's PSCs, and third parties to disclose information held about these persons of special or significant interest and influence. Obviously there are also obligations to register registrable persons and registrable legal entities. This is a newer development in the new PSC register, and requirements to notify relevant relevant PSC details to Companies House. You've also got registers for the new PSC register. Annual compliance, of course, continues to be very important, with a new annual confirmation statement to replace the company annual report. That's another development which, again, people will be aware of, but it gives you a lot of additional practical help. Also, share warrants bearer have been abolished, and the reduced timescale for voluntary striking off is covered. Now, what we found particularly helpful were the annotations which provide cross-references to the relevant statutory provisions throughout the work. I think that's very helpful, especially for non-lawyers who are being directed by the legal staff to carry out various functions. It's absolutely vital that meticulous care is taken to ensure that the correct precedent is identified as the right one to use or to adapt. Again, that links into what you have at the back, because the difficulty I've certainly come across, and I'm sure other people have, is you can quite easily possibly use the wrong form or the wrong type of wording which you might wish to use. So therefore it is important to get the accuracy as soon as possible. We think that users of the manual will find the book easy to identify things, and it gives the added reassurance that the title has been drafted and used by practicing corporate administration and company secretarial experts for them, so you know exactly that it's been written specifically for these people in mind. Now, in 2016, with the 8th edition now available, we're exceptionally fortunate, we think, that a work of this detail and excellence is available to assist the administration of law as we enter the 4th industrial revolution, where the new digital era is really now upon us, with massive changes to work patterns probably in the next 5 to 10 years. It's an excellent legal workhouse, this book, and it's just what you need for your legal office team, because it remains a one-stop resource for all who have the tedious job, and frankly it is tedious, drafting company administrative documents. And we rely on a lot of this the tedium of the work, for us when we're dealing in perhaps at a slightly higher level with difficult clients and trying to ensure that we have everything done correctly. So we're delighted to share in the expertise given to us by the the current editorial team at Jordan's, and we'd like to thank you because it makes our lives so much easier. And the law is stated as at the 31st of October 2015. Let's just have a quick look at the book again. There it is. It's a very heavy book. There we go, blue. There we go. And there is another one in the series, which is the Irish Precedents. It runs to something approaching 850 odd pages. There's the index. Don't forget that you've got that CD at the back. The index is quite useful actually. It is page numbers, but it's got quite a lot of information, so you should be able to find things pretty easily. And of course, what you do have right at the front is again a pretty detailed set of contents. Then for each chapter, as I've indicated, let's just see if I can find one at the moment. For each chapter, what you do have is an important contents list. There's limited liability partnerships. You've got a detailed setup there of exactly what's in it, and then the precedents by number. So thank you to all concerned. It's a first-class book. Make sure it doesn't fall. First-class book. Delighted that we've got a new edition. So thank you to Jordan's and all concerned for a first-class effort. Thank you. Bye-bye.